Welcome to the AZVA Podcast. We got a special guest today, Jack from Pythia. This is a good one. I'm really excited about this one. He's got a really big, successful streetwear brand that I've looked up to for a while. I was telling him earlier, actually, I met someone because you went to U of A.
Correct.
And I met someone that went to U of A that told me about your brand. And this was like, oh my gosh. And you saw the Instagram message. This was like 3 or 4 years ago because I messaged you and I was like, yo, I love what you're doing. Like, I'd love to learn some stuff from you. And this was like a while ago, so it probably got lost in your DMs. But it's funny now that you like saw it and we were like, we can link up. So it's cool to see like the progress you've made. So congrats on that. First off, yeah, like when I started following your brand, like watching it, seeing, like I saw it around, it was at like, I don't know, like 30 or 40K followers on Instagram. You're pushing 100 now. So yeah, dude, congrats on that. But yeah, so
appreciate it.
Like how I like to start these off is I just like to ask you your story, how you got started. Because I think a lot of people like to hear how people like yourself that have really successful brands got started, and like your day one story of how Pythia came about. And then I also want to get into like what the name means, because that's a sick name. Like it's very catchy. When I heard that first, I was like, oh, that's dope. I have no idea what that means, but that's sick. So yeah, if you can just tell us your story about how you got into this in the first place, and then also like the meaning of the name and stuff like that. But yeah,
definitely. Yeah, thanks for having me. I went to Arizona, like you said. I was studying computer science. I went there for mining engineering. Kind of realized I would be in the middle of nowhere doing mining stuff. Originally, I thought I was going to be able to do something cool like underground tunnels for Tesla or something like that. But that was just I realized that was a pipe dream. So I switched to computer science, kind of get back to the city at some point. But yeah, my junior year, or actually end of sophomore year, I bought a sewing machine, just looking for a hobby. The original plan was just cutting the backs off my Converse, sewing zippers. I don't know if you can see it, but I have some shoes on right now with zippers on the back. The goal was Converse take forever to put on, can slide them on, take it on Shark Tank, and get a deal from Mark Cuban. Never panned out that way, but that definitely brought me to buy a sewing machine. And from there, I just started making one-on-one hoodies, one-on-one pants, kind of crafting in my dorm. And yeah, it turned into a brand eventually. So it worked out.
No, that's sick. Do you sell those shoes that you're wearing now?
No, this is like
like customs for yourself?
Yeah, this is like my 5th prototype. Typically with like clothing, I only do like 1 or 2 samples. With shoes, it's like I don't want people getting something that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Too lightweight. So this is like V5 right now, but
okay. But you're working on them. They're in progress.
Almost, yeah.
Have you released a shoe before?
Nah,
no.
Never.
So
only just one-on-one customs. That's about it.
Custom Converse.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And did you ever make it? Like, did you apply to Shark Tank, or was it kind of just like?
Yeah.
Did you ever make it to that?
It was like one of the first things I did. Like the first shoe I made, I took photos. I'm like submitted that. Probably for the best. I heard they take some equity in your business, but
yeah,
it was definitely the initial like spark that got me to buy the sewing machine. I was just kind of, I don't know. I think like halfway through college, some people are just like, what the hell am I gonna do? What am I doing? So for me, it was like kind of just this like, shoot, I'll try this out and see what happens. And
it was completely random. Like you had no previous like interest in clothing, or was it kind of just like was the sewing machine more for? Like it was just like did you like find it at like a store and you're like, oh, this looks cool? Or was it like, did you have that thought kind of always in the back of your head?
So like in middle school, it was like me and 3 girls, we would draw on Post-it notes, like little clothing things, but I dropped that like really quick. It was just like, I don't want to be the kid drawing clothing. And then in high school, I wanted to start a brand with my friends, more so like Vineyard Vines inspired. We did Cali's Valleys, and it was also just kind of like this like, yo, let's start a brand.
Yeah,
never panned out. It ended up just being like a graduation gift. I just got it made on Custom Ink and gave all the homies a t-shirt when we graduated. So I guess I'd played with making a clothing brand before, but at the time, no. I was just I was at Joann's, machine was 50% off.
Not much to do in Tucson, right?
Let's just try it out. Yeah. And yeah, I just fell in love with being able to kind of make like a blank pair of pants, something custom.
Yeah.
And really like zippers. So I sewed a lot of zippers onto things.
And where were you sourcing the zippers? Like same places?
Joann's, bro. Joann's and Walmart were like, yeah, Joann's and Walmart were everything. Like I was buying all my sweatpants, all my jeans from Walmart, and I was just buying every kind of sewing material I needed from Joann's. Luckily, like I'd say like 6 months kind of happened quick. I reached out to Singer and I was like, yo, let's get a sponsorship going. Like I can see the youth is getting more into sewing, and like I really want to be kind of like that spear, that arrowhead of kind of the young people getting back into sewing, because their whole page was just like 50, 60-year-old people sewing. I'm like, this is really boring.
Yeah.
Let's whip this up. And they got me a sponsorship. So at that point, I didn't really need to go buy too much after that. But
what's that brand?
Singer Sewing Company. It's
Okay.
like it's probably the biggest sewing machine company in the United States. And yes, they plugged it. That was great.
That's sick. And at what point did that happen?
I'd say about like 8 months in, pretty early. Yeah.
Right,
so they gave me like my embroidery machine. They gave me a sewing machine.
You just had to like tag them in your content stuff?
Yeah. At that time, TikTok wasn't really a thing. Like I didn't have a TikTok for the first 2 years of the brand, but I was making time lapses. I was cutting up videos and showing kind of the process on Instagram. And it was just like I'd post the piece and then I'd post a video of how it was made. And that definitely worked.
Doing well, yeah. Nice. Yeah, I saw a few of those. I definitely remember like a few of those time lapse ones when they were like sped up. And where does the name come from? Like, what does Pythia mean? And what year did you start this whole journey? Like, what year was that?
End of 2018.
Okay.
So I have the first kind of photo I ever made that says Pythia in it. I was just on like some typical like photo editing app, and it was November 11th, 2018, so 11/11. And Pythia, I learned about it in an ancient substances class, just a typical gen ed. And the Pythia was the middlewoman between the people in ancient Greece and the god Apollo. So she camped out at like the temple of Apollo. We learned about a story of a ancient ruler called Cassis, and he wanted to fight the Persian army, but he didn't really know if he should, if it was a good idea. So he traveled far and met the Pythia and was like, yo, should I go to war? And she said, a great army will fall that day. And he took that as like, okay, we're going to go smash Persia because they're the great army. And as he's dying on the battlefield, he realizes he had the great army and he basically sacrificed it to go take Persia. And the meaning behind it for me was Pythia was this middlewoman. People came to Pythia, or she came to people and told them what the god was speaking. And for me, I didn't want to be the face of Pythia. I never wanted to really be known. I kind of wanted just to be this anonymous figure. I didn't tell any of my friends I was starting a brand, more so out of insecurity, honestly. I just didn't want people knowing about it. So Pythia was going to be the way I speak to the people rather than me directly. So it's kind of like my middlewoman.
That's awesome. That's a great story, man. And that's a good point to touch on too, because I feel like a lot of people out there, especially if like any of you are watching this that want to start a brand, there's always that like insecurity when you first started. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have to promote this and post about it because there's no one else to do it but me, right? So it's like people feel uncomfortable that people are gonna think some type of way. But it's good to hear stories like this, because when you just push through and you realize that it's like not as important as you think, like good things happen. Like you're killing it, man. So it's like, yeah, no, that's great. I also wanted to touch on, I saw that you have some clothes and Zoomies, right? And is that still going? Is that like is that still happening, or was that like a one-time thing, and how did that process come about? Did they just reach out to you, or?
Yeah, so my buyer, he was a longtime customer, and he's like, yo, you want to try out retail? And I was down. So for me, I shopped a lot at Zoomies in high school and college, and it was like, yo, if I could get on my younger self, that's the craziest thing ever. So we do exclusive collections to Zoomies, kind of like 1 a year, 1, 2 a year. And it's really just a way for kind of the youth to get involved, because not everyone at that age is even allowed to have a phone. Some parents don't let their kids order stuff online. So it really kind of builds a community in that way. Like you can grow into Pythia and you can grow into getting the more exclusive pieces and the drops later on. But yeah, it was I love the messages I got. It was like, I can finally get something, you know, like my mom doesn't let me order on websites or Instagram. So I finally could go like save up some money and go buy something. So yeah, it's been awesome. We're definitely looking into more boutiques right now. Like we just got in Common Hype in Arizona. So definitely making the brand more accessible on the certain items. And then we're keeping like the drops limited to the website.
For sure. Nice. Yeah, because retail is like a a big part, like wholesale is a big part of a clothing brand once it gets bigger. And even like I didn't realize it until as of recent. And it's like there's so many ways to get into these retailers that you don't even like think about or really pursue until it's exposed to you.
Totally.
So yeah. Do you have any other retailers? Just those two right now?
Just those two right now. Yeah, but probably some pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure. I'm on that wave where I'm like, I want my stuff to be, before I start pushing retail to like the big guys like Nordstrom and Urban Outfitters and like trying to get like these big orders, I'm like, I want my stuff to be just like perfect. And
yeah,
like, and I'm sure you're a perfectionist, especially since you're like sewing some of this custom stuff yourself, you know, where it's like, you really liking it. Other people might think it's like an amazing product, but in the back of your head, you're like, I know I can improve it and it can be better.
Totally.
And it takes like years and years through, because the sampling process, as you know, is just a shit show. So it's like, it really takes time to perfect that product.
Yeah.
So
we haven't tried anything too experimental with retail. It's more so just like getting the kind of the logo tees out there and like the essentials. But no, I totally agree. It's like on the drops, when it's like, yo, we're gonna test this 300 unit drop, like, or unit item, there's not too much risk. It's like everyone's getting kind of like a limited piece, and you can also test the market and see how warm the water is. But ultimately, yeah, if you go retail with something, you want it to be perfect. So we're kind of holding out on kind of the exclusive stuff and like the more intricate pieces until it's really dialed in. For
sure, 100%. And has it performed? Like, does Zoomies come to you and they're like, this stuff is doing really well, let's keep it going? Or like, how has that experience been? Like, has it been performing pretty well in there? Or has it kind of just been like, you only test a few units, or is it like a lot of units? Or
I'd say in total we've done about,
because there's a shit ton of, not to interrupt you, but there's like a lot of Zoomies. Like, are you in like every single one, or is it just like a few?
750. I'd say we're probably in like 400. It kind of depends like what SKU. Like they'll only send like maybe the most popular item to some and test the waters there. The first year and a half where it's just an incubation period, so it's like you're in 40 stores and they're really just testing if it works. But yeah, like you'll really kind of know if a product is hitting if you get a reorder on it, whereas like some are kind of just like testing this out, seeing when it sells through. If it sells through, you might get a reorder. But it's been great great market research, because you can see what kind of color t-shirts work best, what color combinations.
And it's great organic just advertising, because Zoomies is getting insane foot traffic. That's why I was like, if a retailer like Nordstrom reached out to me at this point and like I felt like I had a product ready, I was like, I don't even care about them making that much profit on it, because I know with wholesale the margins get slimmer and slimmer. So it's like, it's just like great advertising. So yeah, I mean, if you're in like 400, it must be doing pretty damn well. So yeah,
it's solid. Yeah, there's like definitely a lot of people think like, oh, you go retail, you're kind of like selling out. But in reality, it's like there's not much profit in the wholesale retail game, especially in the early years. It's like a lot of these brands that are kind of taking that step are actually taking kind of a sacrifice. Like they're trying to get their brand out there. They're trying to get more people in it. But the profit, like, I don't know, there's some products where we break even, you know, it's just like, let's just try this out. It's more
no, I think it's great.
More so data driven.
100%.
But yeah, no, it's been great getting more people in the brand. Because, I mean, I posted it on my story, like, say 3 years ago at this point. Pythia, like, the goal is getting in every closet. Like, I just want to really spread the message. If you can make someone's day, you should. And then also just build a really big community. That's like the ultimate goal. I mean, there's some brands that are awesome, and like I think like it would be great to have a brand like this where it's like exclusive community, like not too many people can get it. Like people love limited things, and that's what Pythia was at the beginning when I was just making 101s. But ultimately, I found love in like getting as many packages out and getting tagged on stories and people saying this is my favorite hoodie. Like that's what gets me up in the morning.
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding for sure. I want to switch gears a little bit here. I saw that you had like, I noticed, I don't know where I saw it. It was either because I didn't follow your personal page until recently when I reached out for you to do this. But I saw that giant billboard you had out in LA where you put your like the little slogan that you just mentioned. How did that go about? Was that like, because I've always wondered, because I'm a big marketing guy. Like for my brand, I like handle most of the marketing side of things. That's like kind of my main role, and I love finding new ways. And that OG way of marketing, I feel like is super untapped, because it's just like I don't know. It's like, who the hell would buy a billboard? But it was super sick seeing that. And it was like inspired me to look into it. I was like, oh, that's dope. That'd be sick to have my own billboard. And I like see certain ones because I'm in Arizona, like around Arizona, where I'm like, that would be a good spot, like at a red light or whatever. But yeah, like how did that come about? Was that like did you have it for like a month, for a day? Was it like, was it pretty expensive?
Was either our second or third billboard, the one on Melrose. The first one was when I moved back from college after graduating. I moved back to San Francisco for a bit. And this Korean like kind of market down the block always just had the worst billboards. Like it was always like, I think the one before me was like an abortion billboard or something crazy. And I'm like, why not just like rent this out and just put some like positive saying, like at that point we had done the tell someone you love them and if you can make someone's day, you should, hoodies. And I'm like, I'm just going to throw up a message and see what happens. It was only like $900 for the month, something super, super low because it was mid-COVID. And
this was in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Right.
It was like maybe 5 blocks from my parents' house. And got it up. And I remember the first time driving by to go see it, there was like 5 people in the parking lot just taking photos of it. And like I walked up to take like my photo in front of it, and the supermarket owner came out and was like, a lot of people like this, like thank you. like thank you. And it was like, yeah, I mean, I don't think it got like a bunch of followers for the brand like in that way, but it's great like social proof for your Instagram, like we're actually doing something. Like ultimately you're gonna get followers from people seeing it on Instagram rather than people seeing it in person. But it was just cool. Like I drove by like every day. It was a fun time. And then the one on Melrose, similar situation. Like I don't really think people pay too much attention to billboards. They're not like driving by a billboard and like looking the brand up and following them.
Yeah, just like staring at it as you drive by.
Yeah, it's just something that kind of grabs their attention for a second and makes them smile ideally. But ultimately, yeah, like the gain of followers or the kind of the back end is going to come through the social media of just posting it. So it's more so it was just something fun to do. We did it for Valentine's Day. So
no, that's sick. Was the one on Melrose up for like how long? Full month?
A month, yeah. And then we did
that one run like a few racks, or
that was like like 2-3, something like that.
It's a lot, but it's not like it's not as, I feel like I thought it'd be a little more on Melrose.
That's we tried to get the most out of it because it's like we did the photo shoot in front of it. We did a bunch of videos in front of it. So it's like, I don't know, most photo shoots these days are like $1,000 or $2,000 anyways, so might as well make it a cool background.
No, that's sick. And people don't even like, I feel like some people don't realize the importance of social proof because no matter how many followers you have, people are like, are you gonna scam me? And it's like, bro, we're not gonna scam you, but we're gonna do whatever we can to show you that we're real and we're not just posting clothes on the internet. So I think that's a really good way to do that. Yeah, I saw that, I was like, oh, that's sick. I would love to do that.
Yeah, you should. It's definitely a good test.
Yeah. I don't know. In Arizona, I'm like, there was one at this intersection that had like, there's a red light that stops 4 ways and it's always busy. I was like, that would be sick. But like the Suns have it right now. So I'm like, it might be hard to outbid the Phoenix Suns. But yeah, I wanted to transition into another question that might be difficult, but I'm curious if you have like, because you've made a lot of unique stuff, a lot of one-on-one things. And then I've also seen like your stuff that's like bestsellers. I can tell just because you're like restocking it typically, or like specific designs, like the barbed wire heart. I see you use a good amount, and your peripheral hoodies, those are super sick. So I was wondering though, if you have like a favorite piece that you've ever made. And I know it's a difficult question, especially for someone like you, I can tell is like super creative. It's like, you're probably not going to have that specific one, but if there is one, I'm curious because I see a lot of cool stuff like always on your page, but I do see some similarities in certain things. So I'm like, I don't know if like, is that your favorite, or is that one just bringing in the dough, or like what's the favorite piece? Yeah,
I'd say, I mean, I'm definitely like shiny object syndrome. Like my favorite piece at the time is always just like what we have coming out next. Yeah. So we have these really soft camo hoodies with the Chanel embroidery on the front. We got some jeans dropping, kind of similar to yours. They have like some unique cuts. They're kind of on the baggier end. But I'd say like I'll always fall back on the peripheral hoodie just because I put like a lot of, I don't know. That was kind of like one of my first pieces where I was like, I got something here. Like this is kind of unique.
That one's sick.
The idea came from just driving with my hood up, and I was like, I'm gonna get hit,
shit.
bro. Like, I'm gonna get hit. Whereas I realized, like, if I just had like a little sliver of more of like my peripheral vision, like I'd be chilling. So I went home and just like cut 2 V's off my hood, and it worked. And that's what got the peripheral cut. And then
not only making clothes but saving lives.
Yeah, ideally. And then at that same time, it was like I just saw my piece on like Walmart and Alibaba, and like just getting like kind of when you get through the gauntlet of like getting thrown up on those fake websites, you got to like take them down, submit copyright infringements. And I'm like, this needs to stop. But ultimately, it's never going to stop. Like they can just throw it up whenever they want. And I wanted like a unique way of differentiating like a real Pythia piece from like a fake one, because they're not going to take the extra step on certain things. So they might do the V cut on the hood if they want to copy the actual peripheral hoodie, but they're not going to do the V cuts on the cuff and the pockets. So just kind of making it as unique as possible and kind of harder to replicate was the goal there.
Have you noticed a lot of people making fakes of your stuff? Has that happened recently? Not
as like of a recent, for sure. I think like Hellstar and those brands are kind of taking the brunt of the fakeness right now. Like they're getting ripped heavy. But yeah, I mean those websites, like, yeah, it was crazy. I got it on Amazon, it was on Walmart, it was on Alibaba, but it definitely, like, I don't know, maybe the copyright infringements help, and then after a while they're on the lookout for it. But I haven't seen it too much as of late, but it seems like they just attack what's really hot at the moment. So.
Yeah, that happened to me once. Like it was actually crazy. The first t-shirt I ever made that happened with, because I made these, like, this was when I first started my brand, and I didn't even know what I was trying to do. I wasn't even making streetwear. I was just making stuff that I wanted to make that I thought would sell. And at the time, this was like 3 years ago, those like rap tees were popular, like the 90s, like the Tupac, whatever, like the fake remakes. So I made one of Devin Booker because the Suns were like super hot and they went off. Like I sold so many during that playoff run where we made the finals. And that was the first, like one of the first things I ever made. I just made it like for fun. I was like, oh, I want to try. I've been selling vintage. I want to try and make a shirt. I hired some guy to design like a rap tee on whatever website, Fiverr or whatever. And and then it ended up getting like the exact same design was like all over like eBay and Etsy and like random thing. I was like, oh, and it was like our first one. I was like, does this actually like happen? But it never ended up really happening to me again. So
yeah, that's why the trademarks and copyrights and all that are super important. Obviously, with like a Devin Booker tee.
Yeah, I was like, I'm already ripping off it. It's like, I can't do that.
Yeah, you don't have much, but we for Pythia, we have the USPTO trademark. Like, if you guys are starting a brand, get your trademark before you start, because like you can just get your whole life taken away from you at any moment. So we have the Pythia trademark. It's got the Chinese trademark, and then we're just waiting on Canada. So I feel like after that, we'll be able to rest a bit. At least stuff won't be coming out with Pythia on it. They can take the design, they can't take the name though.
Yeah.
So
no, that's cool. And do you make? And you don't have to share this if you don't want to, but do you manufacture most of your stuff in LA or overseas? Or because I noticed you do a lot of like embroidery, screen printing. Obviously it's like cut and sew hoodies and products, but are you doing the cut and sew part elsewhere and then the screen print embroidery in house? Or because I noticed you have, like you said, you have that, and we were talking before the podcast, but you have like the manufacturing company that you're starting, and you can talk about that too if you want.
Sure.
But are you doing, like, what's the process? Obviously you don't have to give like specifics, but like, are you doing it in-house or like?
No, I'm an open book. A lot of our stuff is definitely made in LA. Anything screen printed, embroidered, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. Anything more so intricate, I'll take it to our overseas partners, whether that be China or Pakistan.
Yeah.
We have like kind of one partner in each place that we've been working with for a while. Really good work. Met them at trade expos. I don't know if you've ever been to the Vegas.
Yeah, I go to the Vegas.
Expo.
I go to it twice a year.
Yeah, it's super clutch. You guys should go out there for sure if you haven't.
Yeah.
So we got partners overseas. I do kind of like with anything super intricate, and it's just like, how the hell can I even get this made? I feel like the domestic kind of lacks on that end for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything like embroidery or screen printing, we do that all here. fulfillment here, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you have a warehouse with how many? Do you have employees, or is it just?
Yeah, so for Pythia, we run pretty lean. It's just me and my employee Drake. And then it's kind of happened like 2 years ago. It's like, okay, I need customer support. I need a production manager. I need a designer. I need like so many roles to fill. And rather than that, I went into business with my manufacturer, and we started a company 50/50 called Embellished. So it's basically takes all the pain points out of like starting a brand where it's like really trying to get off the ground, you know. And it's like as you're growing, more pain points come up, more salaries are needed to be paid. And let's say like you have a customer support rep and you're going to pay them a salary full time. They might not be working like 2 weeks out of the month because it's like the drop goes live, customer support's heavy, but then it kind of dies down eventually. So saw a lot of like just lack of like opportunity in that. So we started Embellished, and it's basically a way for, we've been more so catering towards like influencers and celebrity brands where it's like they have the whole foundation to start a brand and the audience for it, but they don't really want to get involved in like creating a brand per se. So it's like we'll come in and we have every spot that they might need, and then it's kind of just time pieced out. So they pay as they need. They don't need to pay a full-time team. They don't need to do all that kind of stuff.
So it's you and your boy. Are you guys, so when these drops happen, is it just you two packing the orders, or do you have people that like it, or is it just like a grind?
Yeah, sometimes it's a grind. Sometimes we'll bring in some of his homies to help pack, but for the most part, everything's handled by Embellished at this point. So with Embellished, we have 3 packers, can be up to 5. So we have like 2 temps, and then we have full-time creative director, full-time customer support, full-time production manager.
So you're just using, so you do have employees, but they're not really, they're like through your other, okay. So they're just not like direct employees. So what does your other boy do? Like what makes him different than the Embellished part of things?
Yeah, so he took over his family screen printing business at 18. Okay. So we're both 25, and his background's like more so on the production side of things. He has no social media or anything like that. So my side of the gig is more so on like the networking, getting the brands in there, understanding the e-commerce side of things. Like, hey, we should plug in this software on your website, getting the website built. Yeah. Overall, just like brand strategy is my end. And then when it comes to like getting a production done and done right, that's on him.
All right, cool. And I noticed, just switch the conversation a little bit, that you have, like, I've paid attention to a lot of your drops, and I actually tried to buy, this was before I ever reached out to you or knew you, I tried to buy a hoodie, but it was sold out, so I didn't get it. But I noticed you always have these like $7, or is it $6 or $7, $8 tees?
Yeah, it's definitely gone. It's changed up a bit. Like I'd say my first kind of like drop that broke me out of just like one-on-ones and like 70-piece like drops was a $5 and a $10 tee, and that was like it got on a lot of people, and I'm like, this is kind of fun, you know, like it's rather than like people saying like, yo, I can't get anything, like people could get as much as they want. So that was what, like 2020, so that was 4 years ago. Yeah, we kind of pivoted towards like either the price matches the holiday. So like we did a 420 drop, so the tee was $4.20. Typically though, it's 11.11. That's what we'll run it at normally.
And I was gonna ask you with that, is that like, because I noticed you obviously have, with me, it's like, sorry, just to backtrack a little, with my brand, I'm like, I'm always trying to figure out pricing. Like, do I want to be the brand that's selling stuff for this much or this much? Because it's like, you want to keep it kind of like consistent. At least for me, I'm like, I always want to keep it consistent, but I want to steadily, you know, grow it as the quality gets better. There's more expenses. As you have more employees, you have to raise prices, just part of it. But for you, I was curious, are those like super low price tees? Is it more of like a marketing strategy to get a bunch of people there and they end up buying other stuff? Or is it just like, oh, I just want people to be able to buy stuff and I'm not really making money on it? Or like, what's the strategy behind doing that?
It definitely works as a lead magnet, which is like getting people to the website and hey, they might check out the $11 tee and they're like, ah, screw it, I'll get a $60 hoodie on top of it. Definitely works out that way. Ultimately, it's just getting the brand on more people. Yeah. Like not every, like, I mean, there's some people that only just buy the $11 tees and it's like, they look forward to that, and we like providing that opportunity to them. So it's just kind of more like a fun little tee every drop. Kind of theme based.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was like, that's a cool strategy. I've never really seen, because it's like, it's hard at that price, obviously, to make money, but it's cool to like get your brand. You obviously want as many people rocking as possible, and it gives like people an opportunity to buy it. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. I've never really seen someone do that. But
definitely weren't the first. I'll throw Half Evil out there. They started that for sure.
Right,
the
cool.
$3.33 tee.
Oh yeah, I think I did. I have seen that. Yeah, they do a good job. They're pretty big now, huh? But yeah. I saw in your bio it said product of doubt. I wanted you to explain, and this is on your personal Instagram. It said product of doubt. Are you referring to yourself, your brand, or is that just kind of like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are product of doubts, myself included. I think maybe in your youth you were doubted a bit, you got picked on a little bit. I think some people always kind of have that chink in their armor where it's like, you might have something to prove wrong, and that's where kind of product of doubt came into. I mean, even in the early days, I didn't want anyone to know about Pythia. I didn't want anyone to know I was starting a brand. And I think that inner doubt kind of made me push farther in that sense. I wanted to prove something. I wanted to get something done. I wanted to leave my mark. So yeah. Product of doubt. Like without that doubt, I wouldn't be here. So
have you thrown that on anything?
Yeah, we've done a couple Pythia pieces, and that's kind of like my next venture.
What was the moment where you were like, okay, we got something? Because I know there's, like you said, like there's always that doubt in the beginning and that like stress of like, oh, I'm spending all this time, like I'm not getting any results. I started this business and it's not working out the way I wanted it to, or there's so many things going wrong, or like, what was that moment where you're like, you started to gain that confidence? You're like, okay, we got something here. Because I remember my exact moment, and it's like the first thing I did was like call my mom, and I was like, holy shit, like my Shopify orders are just flying through. And that first experience is so like, it's just very uplifting because there's so much that goes into that specific moment that it's like hard to forget. So I'm curious if you have a moment where you're like, holy shit, like my dreams are coming true. This is happening, and I'm going to be able to like put my time into this.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily I was like blessed with just like crazy support from random people, like just finding the Instagram page from the beginning with the one-on-ones and stuff. But it was always like a fear. Like I used to tell myself like, okay, if I sew one hoodie a day, 365 days a year, then maybe I can make this kind of work. Whereas like, that's really not, it's not a way to run a business. But I was just trying to convince myself like it's possible. And so like, I felt like I had something, and like, maybe I'd be like someone's personal designer, or like kind of like make rock star clothes, and that's also a lane. But ultimately, like when I moved to LA with like maybe $2,000 in my bank, and I had maybe like 100 hoodies, so enough to probably last like a couple months out here. I'd say like a month in, we did that drop with the $5 and $10 tee, and that was kind of my first branch of getting people to buy, like rather than just like 10 people a drop. Like, let's see how many people are actually interested in the brand and will actually purchase. And I think we did like 1,500 to 2,000 orders in a weekend, and it was just like, damn, like people care, like people want Pythia. So it's not just like some Instagram page that they follow and they think is cool, but they don't want to buy it. So I think like actually getting the orders was a proof of concept. So that was exciting.
That's crazy, man. So you came, not to discredit what you said at the end there, that's amazing. I mean, getting 2,000 orders in a weekend is not an easy task. But so you came to LA with just $2,000 and 100 hoodies.
Yeah.
That's pretty
much.
ballsy.
It was mid-COVID. We found a house off Melrose that was being squatted, and they were just like, someone come live here, because like we're just kicking like homeless people out of here every day. Like just someone come take it. So it was like me and three buddies just came and took it. It was like $1,300 a month. And I mean, if you know LA, that's
ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
13 each?
No, $1,300 each.
Okay,
so it was like, I mean, that was just really low. And it was like, they were trying to knock it down. No one was buying it. No one was buying the plans. So like, let's just get someone in here. we took it. It was a 3-month lease. They were just like, you can only have it for 3 months. We're definitely going to be selling it by New Year. And I was like, okay, like, I got 2 months of rent in my bank account. And if I can sell this drop, then I got that third. So, that was just enough for me to try and make food it work. Or anything. No.
I got rent. I don't need any other dollars.
Anything else, as long as I got my sewing machine here. Yeah, I just rented a U-Haul and just took everything down.
And you came from
San Francisco. Yeah.
And where are you originally from?
San Francisco. So okay. I grew up in San Francisco, and then went to Arizona, graduated, and that was my senior year was like that second semester COVID hit. So I was like, luckily, it hit like right around finals. So it was like, okay, everything's online for finals, or some teachers are like canceling finals. So definitely lucked out because computer science was tough. And moved back to San Francisco, just in my parents' basement. And I was like, this is dreadful. Like, love the fam and everything, but moving back home is just kind of tough pill to swallow. So I just
feels like a step back.
Yeah, I just wanted to get out, and LA was just that opportunity, and somehow made it work for sure.
That's great to hear, man. It's like people need to, this is the stuff that's real, you know, like $2,000 in a dream and just going and making it happen, man. Yeah. Oh, that's sick. Congrats, dude.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Walk us through your fit here, because I noticed, I was like looking, I was like, damn, this boy's dripped out head to toe in Pythia.
Yeah, so we got
is all this stuff?
New shoe. This is like V5. It's crazy because it doesn't even look that much different from V1, but we're getting there. And then,
is that a double lace on there?
Yeah, I'm not double lacing it though, but definitely double eyelets. And
that's
then you can zip it off, zip it back on.
Dude, those are dope.
And then we got these jeans, just zippers on the outsides, kind of like a carpenter pant with a flannel patch. Hoodie, this is from, I want to say like September. This is actually inspired from a vintage Arizona hoodie I had. Really? And it's had the same kind of stitching and the same kind of distressing. Nice. Yeah, it was like real distress. Like the hoodie was like probably like 40, 50 years old. I'm like, let's make one of these. And and then we got the hat.
Hell yeah. The jewelry too, is that a ring?
Yeah, this is a Pythia barbed wire star ring with some hammering detailed, and then I treated myself and got like a VVS diamond one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's not all diamonds, but we have little diamonds inside the stars.
That's sick.
So yeah, it's a little cool piece.
Yeah, I'm like, I need to step it up. I'm only rocking the hoodie and the hat. I'm like, we got some jeans we're working on though. Denim's just like, it's such a process because you want it to be like fit perfect, material perfect. It's like, it just takes time. But
yeah, we have our first pair of denim dropping in like 2 weeks, and yeah, like you said, it's just like kind of just a process to get the right fit. But yeah, at this point, like my whole closet is either Pythia or blanks, and like my outfit is pretty much just the first thing I touch. Like I just grab and dip. So not too much outfit planning, which is nice.
Gotta represent.
Yeah.
I always wonder, because sometimes with me, I'm like, I don't even remember to take some of the pieces from my drops into my closet. I'll just be selling it, and then I'm like, oh, it's all selling. I don't need to take one. And I'm like, wait, I probably should grab some of these for memories. Like when I'm older, I'm like, but sometimes like, wait, I don't even have half the stuff on my website, like in my closet. I'm like, I'm rocking everyone else's brand. But yeah, I wanted to also ask, I saw you had this like Pythia school program thing. That's cool. I mean, I feel like our brands are similar in the sense that we have a very young demographic, because I got a majority of our following from TikTok. We had some TikToks blow up. It translated into Instagram followers, and then we started getting into the paid ad space. And because our organic, we haven't really, I need to put more time to the organic side of things, but we do a lot of paid ads. But through TikTok, I got like that youth following. And I'm assuming from the conversation we've had today that you have a similar youth following in some sense, just from like the Zoomies and stuff like that. So what is that program you do, and like, can you explain how that works and how that came about?
I'd say our main following is probably 16 to 25. So some people are out of school, but when I was either a junior or a senior, I can't remember which, it was in college. It was like, okay, like this is great and all, but I really like running my brand and this is what I want to do. And now I feel like I'm kind of just stuck finishing this degree because I'm so far along in it. And it was like, okay, like at the end of this, I get what, like a piece of paper that says like congratulations. And I was like, I wish like I got like a prize or something, even though it was just like, I was just like thinking like what more could I do or what more could I get? And not even for me, but just for like kind of the students, it was like finishing college is great because you get like the degree and like you're done with school, but what does finishing 7th grade do? Like you just move on to 8th grade. So it was like, what could I do to kind of make it a little bit more fun for kids? So we started the Pythia honor roll. It only was like 35 kids that first semester. And the goal was like if you could either improve your GPA by, I think like 0.8, so like not even a full grade point, or if you just already get good grades and you get like a 3.2, then we'll give you a free t-shirt. We'll cover all the shipping, cover this t-shirt, and then we make a group chat so they can all talk. It was just kind of a way for me to give some kind of advice, being a little bit older, what really turned my grades around. Like, cause I was a horrible student. Like I got probably 2.0 all of middle school, like 2.2 freshman, sophomore year of high school. But I remember vividly, like I was looking at like schools I thought were cool to go to. And I was like, okay, like let's check out Duke. That looks like a fun school. Like, they have a good basketball team. Like 4.5 GPA to get in here. I'm like, this is like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. So from that point on, like I figured it was more so on me, just like trying, like maybe it's got to do all my homework. I got to like make sure the teacher thinks I care. And I started emailing all my teachers like the first week of school, like, hey, I really want to get into my dream school. What does it take to get an A in your class? And they kind of just give me some bullet points of like what the important things are. And maybe I did, or maybe I didn't follow those things, but I noticed my GPA went skyrocketing up after I kind of made that initial effort. And I kind of chalk it up mostly to like, teachers want you to succeed, ultimately. And if they know you're trying, like it's hard for them to grade in a negative light. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of just like, that was the difference between me getting D's compared to B's and A's, is like, they knew I wasn't really that invested. So it's like, how can you read a kid's paper that you know doesn't really care and say it's an A paper? Whereas if you email them and tell them you do care, they're going to read that paper as like, he's trying, like, yeah, I'll give him some extra points. And it worked out. So I just gave the kids kind of like that advice, like make sure like your teacher at least thinks you care about the class, and like you'll see the benefit. So
oh, that's cool. Have you had a lot of signups for that? Yeah,
so we do it every semester. It went from 30 to 60 to 90, and now we're at like 250 per semester. So we've done we've had like 1,500 kids go through the program.
Nice.
Probably half of them have gotten the t-shirt. And once you get the t-shirt, you can you're an alumni, Pythia honor roll alumni. And then if you don't get it, you can just do it again next semester.
Gotcha. That's cool, man. Yeah, inspiring the youth. That's important. It's like, it's funny because I didn't even think about it until I realized my demographic was so young. I was like, this is actually, you know, some people might not want that demographic because they're like, I don't want young kids because kids can be annoying. And it's like, and they obviously don't have as much money as adults. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I always think about, I'm like, I'm getting these customers at such a young age, and they're going to grow up with the brand, and they're going to be like, look back and be like, dang, that was a brand I bought in middle school and it's still popping. I'm in college. Like, yeah, you know, so that stuff's always cool to like think about. No, that's super impressive and cool that you do that.
Thanks.
In terms of this question here, I like to ask, and I've asked this to every person I've had on here, because it's all good. And I'm just explaining this because I don't know if you've seen the other podcasts, but it's all like fun and games when you see the Instagram. It has 100K followers, and you see Jack, and it looks like his life's going well and everything's good. And you know, online looks all perfect. But as you know, as a business owner, stuff goes wrong a lot all the time, and it's a lot of problem solving, mental barriers you have to crush through. I even dealt with one today. Like I literally had a discount code for 50% off that I was sending to specific people, and I had a huge drop yesterday, and it got leaked somehow. I don't even know how it got leaked, and like 12 people used it, and we're getting like $150-$200 orders for like $90, $100. And I was like, how the hell did this happen? So right now I'm trying to figure out how that even happened. But it's like stuff like that, just stuff goes wrong and it's uncontrollable, and in the moment you're like, oh my gosh, like this is the end of the world. But I know like every person goes through it, so I even like to ask, not only for people to hear that are thinking about starting a brand or already have one, that are going through something even in their personal life, but it's like I even like to hear for myself, because I go through so much bullshit. I'm like, am I the only one that's getting hit with these like new challenges every day? But I'm curious if you have a specific story of where, yeah, something just went wrong, and it was like, you know, you almost thought about either giving up on the brand, or even if it wasn't to that extent, just was something that was super negative that was like, dang, this is like really unfortunate, but I'm going to find a way to power through and keep pushing on this dream, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I know sometimes it's a hard one for people, because I'm like putting you right on the spot, but I like to at least explain it, so it gives you some time to think about it while I'm explaining it. So
no, I got one for sure. I mean, it happens all the time, like you said. I think something I've gotten good at is just kind of documenting when it's bad, so that the next time I'm out of it, I'm like, hey, you made it past that time. Like, what's it now? So I probably have like 10 Snapchat stories where it's like, bro, I just want to quit completely. Like, this is so hard. But hey, still here. Brand's still doing good. So it's kind of just a peak and valley situation. Like, if you're in the valley, look forward to the next peak, because it's got to come. So, but yeah, I'd say one situation that comes to mind is Black Friday mystery boxes 2 years ago. Like, it was our first time doing mystery boxes, and I
already know about the Black Friday mystery box stuff.
Yeah, I promised like spend $100, get $200 back. So like right there, you're giving a lot of product for every order, and it has to be like of value. So that's like kind of one thing. And then we sold like damn near like 3,000 mystery boxes, and I probably had inventory for, I didn't know what we had in the warehouse. Like I didn't know how much we could sell. I was just like, we'll just do this and see what happens, which wasn't smart. Like, we're so much more planned out now when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, younger me was just like, let's run it up and see what happens. And I really probably had stock to make like 500 mystery boxes. So it was like, okay, we promised.
All of a sudden, you're throwing toasters and mystery.
Yeah,
what we got around the house? We never said it was gonna be closed.
Straight up, we promised a 1 month turnaround, and I had not even nearly enough product to fulfill the drop. So it was like, okay, got to make a ton of, like, I just had to like crank designs. I'm like, let's get stuff in the works. Like, let's make stuff people are gonna like. But then at that same time, it's like you had to make stuff of value. Yeah. So people got like good stuff. So it was just like, I just thought I killed my brand. I thought I was like just overpromised. I overpromised delivery times. I'm now stuck like making things for that have to be like super valuable, and like just trying to cut like to try and like make it work price wise. So like, yeah, we lost money on that drop. It was like such a headache. And then the customer support side is just like, you're getting it. Like, you're getting ripped nonstop. So it just hits you at all angles, when ultimately it's just poor planning. Like, I should have known how many mystery boxes I could drop. Ultimately, we made just a lot of new stuff, like unreleased product, and it just took longer to get everything out, but ultimately, like, most people were pretty stoked. And then when we did mystery boxes the year later, like, people were like, what we had to do is like, rather than spend 100, get 200, because it was just like, I couldn't make the pieces I wanted to make at that price. It was more so just like nice graphic tees and nice hoodies, but I wanted to throw like custom cut and sewn stuff in there and that kind of, and like jewelry. So we promised, like, let's say like spend 100, get 150 back this year. So people were getting like way better items for the price, and like we could kind of throw cooler things in there, and we were more planned out. But some people were like, yo, I got so much stuff last year. Like, why did I get less this year? I'm like, well, we had to kind of cut down on the amount of items to bring up the quality. So
yeah,
just learning lessons like that. Like,
yeah.
Luckily, like most things, you just kind of have to do it once to not make the mistake again. And everything in this business is about learning. So that's why having like peers and other clothing brand friends is so important, because they might have gone through something and they could save you completely from making that same mistake, or they can kind of guide you through that mistake that you just got yourself into. So yeah, 100%. I definitely rely a lot on my peers when it kind of comes to that situation.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a funny story. I mean, it's not funny, but it's like it's
funny now. But yeah, it wasn't funny then.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. And then you're not lying about the customer support stuff. I mean, I hired someone to handle that now, because I'm like, I used to respond to every email, every DM. Mm-hmm. This was back like 6-7 months ago, and oh my gosh, people are ruthless.
Yeah, it's and like, I mean, I've been on. It's easy to be mean via email. If like you're having a bad experience, like I've caught myself. I'll delete the email now, but it's like you just want to let someone have it. You're like, where's my item? Like I'm waiting for this, and ultimately it comes down to people. You just got to take it with a grain of salt and be like, this person really cares about getting their product. Like they really want my brand, and ultimately like they're angry they don't have it. So it's just about being like graceful and kind of getting people an answer and fixing the solution as best as you can. So yeah, but yeah, I definitely got out of the weeds with doing my own customer support.
Yeah, a lot of just problem
as soon as I can.
Yeah. And before we wrap this up, what's next? Do you have anything coming up that you're like really excited about that that people don't know about, or that you have teased a little bit, like a specific product or a new within Pythia, like a specific product or a drop, or something big that's coming up for you guys, like a pop-up or a retail opportunity or whatever it is, just something that you're excited and looking forward to?
Yeah, so drops, we're going to continue just kind of doing like one drop a month. So looking forward to just kind of keeping consistent, getting more innovative products out there. Product-wise, I'd say the shoe is kind of going to be our kind of like, oh, this is new. I'd say something I'm looking forward to most is probably our next pop-up. We don't have a location yet, but I'm looking to do something in New York pretty soon. So that'll be cool, because we've only done West Coast pop-ups. And
you like a little DJ in there?
Throw a DJ in there and kind of just get the vibe going. But yeah, we've only done West Coast stuff. And in reality, like based on Instagram, it says our biggest fan base is New York. So
that's what mine says too.
Yeah, it should be kind of cool.
People out there just ordering clothes, man. They just can't. People just care about how they dress.
So I want to get out there and meet people.
Have you been in New York?
Never.
Really?
Never been to New York.
Oh, damn.
My parents met there.
My parents met there too.
Yeah, never been there though.
That's sick. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Both our parents met there. Maybe that's where the clothing comes from. It's in the blood. It was in the air.
Yeah, my dad's from Ireland. My mom's from Chicago. So
okay.
Yeah, they somehow met in New York. My mom was going to Ireland to work at like a fish cannery or something with her friends, and my dad was in New York to drive to California with some of his buddies. So they did a complete swap, and then they met back up
that's crazy.
Later and had me really young. So
hell yeah,
it's been a good one.
Nice. And last question here: Are you like a workaholic? Would you consider yourself a workaholic? Because I see a successful brand like yourself, and I know the time and dedication that it took for me to get to where I'm at. And you've been doing this for a little longer than I have, but yeah, like I'm curious, was it a long, slow process, or was it just like you're just a grinder, you're working every day all day, and it happened a little quicker? Like what would you consider yourself in terms of like work ethic? Because I the only reason I asked is because people like watching this, I feel like don't understand how much truly goes in to the success of a clothing brand, just because of the mere fact of how much competition there is, the many different aspects that you have to figure out. So there's just a lot that goes into it, the behind the scenes. So I'm curious, like, what kind of hours when you first started were you just like?
Yeah, when I first started, it was definitely just total workaholic. Being in computer science at the time, like I had obligations, like I wasn't gonna just like fail out of school for the brand. Like I don't recommend doing that. If you're already in school, finish the degree. But I would I'd wake up at 6, I'd skip most of my classes, and then I'd go just straight to the tutoring center and just work with a tutor on all my homework. It was a cheat code. Because all the classes, like, it was just the teacher reading the slides, so I could read the slides on my own time and just go get actual, like, one-on-one help. And soon as I would finish my homework, I'd just go home and sew for the rest of the day. And, like, maybe we'd go out to, like, a bar or something on, like, Thursdays or Saturdays, but that was about it. Pretty much straight to school and straight back to the sewing machine. And I would set really unrealistic expectations for myself, which worked out. Like, I would have nothing done for the drop, and I would say, yo, I'd post on the story, dropping next Friday. And it's like, okay, I now have to drop by next Friday. I have to have these 10 crew necks done. I have to have all the product photos. So
this was the custom stuff.
Yeah, I would just throw myself in the deep end and make it happen. These days, it's similar, but I gotta be more calculated. Like, I can't just sew for 20 hours a day and like just keep doing that, because ultimately I have other responsibilities to keep the business going. So it's more so being tactical and putting your time in the right places these days. But yeah, the grind don't stop for sure.
Hell yeah, man. Well, appreciate you coming on. This is Jack from Pythia.
Thank you
He's
for having me.
Killer designer, super unique, cool stuff. Does like you said, like makes some of the stuff himself from the beginning, and really has that knack for it. And yeah, he's doing great. You guys check out his brand if you haven't heard of it. Check out AZVA too. I know you guys are probably coming from my page, so you've already seen it. But yeah, man, thank you. Appreciate you. It was great to have you on. Yep. But yeah, see you guys next time. I'm gonna have another guest here soon. It seems like I've been doing these in LA a lot because that's where everyone's at. Maybe I need to. Yeah. I'm like, I think I need to move out here. I'm like, there's so many more people doing what I do out here than in Arizona. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in.